Contributions and Shortcomings by Nathan Boylan Beauvais. Marxism is the ideology held and developed by German philosophers Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels in their 1848 book, The Communist Manifesto. It has had many great contributions to politics and economics, but also has its shortcomings and even flaws that have harmed the world. This video will explore both and conclude whether Marxism is a solution to today's problems or if it should be avoided. Let's start with its contributions. One of Marxism's biggest contributions was its denial of the idea that liberalist ideas would actually bring true equality. Liberals, by seeking to destroy feudal systems and replace them with capitalism, believed they would make people equal by removing the systems that place some people as superior to others by birth, such as nobility and monarchy. While Marx agreed this was a step in the right direction, it only guaranteed political equality in the eyes of the state, but did not address economic and social inequality, particularly of wage workers that became the norm during the Industrial Revolution. He explained that there still existed an undemocratic hierarchy, most importantly between two classes he called the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. The proletariat is the exploited working class, and the bourgeoisie is the owner class that exploits the proletariat by paying them wages by the hour rather than by the value of their work, thereby stealing what Marx termed their surplus value. This exploitation is protected by the police class based on the capitalist notion of private property, which Marx encouraged society to abolish. It is worth noting that private property is not the same as personal property. Personal property is a right that has existed since prehistoric times and consists of things being used by only one person, such as a toothbrush, phone, or house being lived in. Private property is a capitalist invention that allows people to own things used collectively, such as land not in use by the owner, factories, businesses, and roads. These theories have inspired many strikes and unionization of workers and provide hope for a post-capitalist society. Marxism has provided much more inspiration than the older socialist movement championed by George Hegel due to Marxism's scientifically practical solutions. While Hegel's utopian socialists thought more about what a perfectly equal society would look like and looked to a mystical God and spirituality of all people to just give up on capitalism, Marx and Engels provided a realistic path to a socialist society based on a secular, purely human-centered approach. He encouraged the proletariat to seize the means of production and overthrow the bourgeoisie through revolution to create a socialist society, like the bourgeoisie was doing to the nobility when overthrowing feudalism to create a capitalist one. Eventually, the workers will achieve a communist society in which there is no more need for a state or money and everything is owned by the collective. Marxism has inspired many positive social movements, such as Occupy Wall Street, which sought to punish bourgeois investors for causing the Great Recession and getting bailouts. While Marxism only accounted for class inequality, it has been further developed by movements for the liberation of other oppressed groups, such as Black Americans affected by racial capitalism, in which racism prevents Black people from joining the bourgeoisie, colonized nations exploited by the colonizers stealing their resources, and Marxist feminists standing up against men who exploit the work of women through patriarchal laws and norms. Although it has had many great contributions, its flaws and shortcomings must also be explored. One of its major and obvious flaws was that it was used to inspire movements that ended in dictatorial regimes. Russia's Soviet Union was the first state to actually use Marxism as an inspiration for state building. While the state was corrupted from the beginning under Vladimir Lenin, it became completely clear that it would be a dictatorship under Lenin's successor, Joseph Stalin, who ruled through violence and propaganda and without fair democratic elections. After World War II, he spread his version of communism into Eastern Europe through creating satellite states, meant to be closely aligned with Soviet interests. This was also used to create regimes in China under Mao Zedong, North Korea under Kim Il-sung, and many others across Asia and Africa. It is worth noting that dictatorship is not inherent to Marxism, and it is actually about achieving true democracy. These dictators simply use the idea to exploit leftist movements for their own benefit. A shortcoming of Marxism was that it didn't accurately predict the timeline of events past 1848. Marx predicted that sometime in the near future, capitalism would reach its breaking point and the proletariat would naturally rise up and overthrow it. Instead, capitalism's effects have been lessened by social democratic programs, while Marxist movements have been corrupted by evil dictatorships that confuse people into thinking that is what Marxism is about. This has caused many workers to simply accept the system the way it is. The bourgeoisie has also exploited the ignorance of the proletariat to turn their anger against the system into bigotry against oppressed people. Donald Trump, for instance, a lifetime billionaire, is adored by much of the working class as their champion for his strong hatred of immigrants and a desire to deport them, believing his false rhetoric of these immigrants stealing the jobs of citizens and lowering their wages. This has made a socialist revolution much more difficult. In conclusion, while Marxist socialism has not predicted a lot, that makes it much more difficult to achieve. It is still something to work toward and fight for. While Donald Trump is able to attract much of the working class, Bernie Sanders and the House Squad have done the same through unification under democratic socialist principles rather than bigotry. His movement calls for the government to provide for the basic needs of society with socialist health care, higher and pre-K education, basic housing, and more. Some businesses are even being created in which the workers collectively own it and elect its executives. There is still hope for a socialist future, so keep on fighting.